1955, they built that as a one-lane bridge. It was brand new.
And how could we get that to where we could make that a two-lane bridge? Is there any way to put that on the improvement list?
Well, if you guys identify it as one of your top needs and then bring it to the TAC meeting in December, it was not one of your top priorities last year. But I think Ann or Bonnie may have mentioned that, you know, here at the end when you pick your top priorities that your TAC members will bring to the group in December, it can be the ones you identified last year, or it can be a completely different set. You know, needs change. So that bridge.
One thing that changed on that this year that we'd probably need to look at more is there's a couple big farms up there that have been owned by one family for a long time. And one of them was bought up and they've sold off in 20-acre sections.
Yeah.
So
There used to
the
be like
traffic
3 or
on
4
that,
homes there now.
the traffic on that is gonna increase immensely. And it's the only, or not the only access, but the main access to it is crossing that one-lane
I
bridge.
suspect those folks out there would like to have a two-lane bridge.
Probably so.
So yes, things changed.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference. PU 731, the intersection of the business loop with Plattner Road. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 732, improvements to Eigert. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 733, additional street lighting along the business loop. I recommend leaving that on the list.
I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but
No,
back
go
to
ahead.
732. What all is included in the 732 one? Because, in my opinion, there needs to be the right-hand turn lane needs to extend all the way from GW lane to 44, because that's where the school traffic gets off. It comes back in, then there's a turn lane to come and go up there. But if you had a right-hand turn lane, 90% of that traffic that gets off there in the morning goes to the school. But it's at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's backed all the way up to I-44 still.
We've done some restriping things out there.
Yeah.
But we've essentially done everything we can do within that footprint. So that one was added to the list, a number of years by the city of Waynesville. And there are a number of improvements that could be done there. But most of those improvements require a wider footprint.
Yeah, and that's what that really needs, is a wider footprint.
So that's, if it was to be brought into the STIP, we would take a look at, essentially we'd probably start at South Side and go all the way to 17 and identify what issues there are and how best to solve those, whether it's changes at the intersections, widening that footprint, which I think we all agree needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then maybe changing the nature of how those intersections work a little bit to help get traffic through. But anyway, by restriping that area, you know, we added the off ramp used to be one lane, and we were able to restripe that because the shoulder was full of concrete there. And then we restriped between there and the GW lane to get at least a partial right turn lane. But you're right, it doesn't extend all the way up to the intersection.
I just want the guardrail contract. Them guys are there every week. Semi hits that guardrail going into come and go.
It's a little tight.
Yeah.
But as far as what the answer is, I don't have a definitive answer for you.
Right.
We want to take a look at it and identify.
I think that's something that definitely needs to be looked at, because you get them kids, you know, coming to school in the morning and they're stuck out on I-44, and that's not a good spot to come over anyway.
Um,
734.
PU 734, additional pedestrian facilities across the county. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 735, intermodal hub. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 736, increased rural public transportation options, frequency, etc. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 737, the intersection of Route Y and St. Robert Boulevard. It's actually a partnership project between us and the city. I suspect a year from now we'll be removing that from the list. PU 738.
So is it going to be done in 22 or 23?
It'll be done this year. Oh, fiscal year 23 is when we're going to pay the city back
Oh, okay,
The
the
50% that we
construction's
owe them.
happening in 22.
They're front funding the cost of the project, and we're gonna pay them back 50%. So that's, and we're doing that in fiscal year.
Okay.
I think construction has been put off till April or May.
April, May.
Because of
30.
getting materials.
Okay.
We've seen that problem in a lot of
Oh,
places.
yeah.
Actually, along those lines, I have something interesting to share with the group. I learned some things about paint this year that I didn't really think I needed to know. So what's interesting is we're probably not going to get all of our roads striped this year. We are working, usually by this time of the year, we're done striping. We're using every available day that's warm to get as much striping as possible done. At least we'll get all the majors, but some of the minors aren't going to get a stripe this year. But, so, most of this country's paint comes from Texas. There's a few suppliers in Texas that provide most of the paint in the country. Oh, of course, they had a pretty rough winter, and it screwed up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, for a long time, we were having problems getting paint. Well, we're finally getting paint, but we're having problems getting glass beads. Because something I didn't know, the glass beads that are used in highway striping, because that's what makes it reflective at night, the production of that requires the use of medical grade oxygen. Well, the last year and a half, all the medical grade oxygen has been going into the health sector.
Yeah.
So we have to make glass beads. So, those are two things that I didn't used to know, and now you know.
Yeah.
So if someone asks why we didn't get a route striped, that's the reason. We're trying to get everything striped that we can.
Go further.
We're not the only state that's having that issue. That's a nationwide problem. Where am I at here?
738.
738. I did want to discuss. So the master plan is actually getting approved, and I know the terminal has got some temporary improvements, but they don't have. They want to do further improvements in the terminal. Do we have someone from Waynesville here?
Not Windsor.
No.
Well, Anita's here.
Could we put that off till Mayor gets here, maybe?
Okay. I didn't know if we still needed to keep that on the list or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Accessibility is the biggest issue. That's what I hear
Way to
again and
get
again
on
and
the fort.
again. Huh?
Yeah.
Way to get on the fort easily to be able to use the airport.
Yes, to be able to use it.
We're getting a lot of people screaming.
Yeah, I hear that as much as I hear anything.
It's a lot different than it was when I first got down here. In 2011, it's pretty easy to get on the board.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
You just rolled
Yes.
up and showed your ID, and on you went. Now you got to stop, and yeah, it's kind of. I don't go to the fort nearly as often as I used to.
And they'll even ask you why you're going out there, what business you have out there to,
Where are you going?
yeah,
How long you gonna be there?
yeah.
I think I can go from 6 to 5, but even if you got a pass, they put a restricted time on there,
Mm-hmm.
usually.
Yeah.
So,
If your plane leaves at 6:15, you're traveling.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave that one on there. Maybe adjust it later. PU 739, extend the outer roads along Missouri. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 740, pedestrian facilities along Route Y, specifically from I-44 to Lemming Lane. I recommend leaving that on the list.
By all means.
PU 741, add climbing lanes coming out of Ruby Doo Bottom. I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 742, safety flooding concerns on Route U at Tavern Creek. I recommend
Yes.
leaving that on the list. PU 743, bridge improvements on Route T over the Gasconade River. That project is complete.
I was gonna say, it's done.
So I would recommend leaving it on the list.
Yep.
743.
Yes. 744,
Wait, I'm sorry, did you say that you're taking that off?
yes, that project has been completed.
Which one was it?
743.
Yeah, the bridge over the
Route T bridge over the Gasconade. 744.
That's the same thing as outside of Dixon.
Yep, I recommend leaving that on the list. PU 745, Route 20, the Route 28 interchange there at I-44. I recommend leaving that on the list.
Yes, that should be moved up if anything can be done at all. I'll probably get as many complaints on that as anything. Condition there and the accessibility and everything.
747. I guess I wanted to discuss 747 for a second. So I know that we partner to improve intersections actually across all 8 counties. Have you guys met Justin?
Yeah,
Okay.
Newman.
Yep. He's been our supervisor out there now for a year. And of course, Terry Shanks is the assistant.
Yeah.
Tim got a promotion. Tim is now a superintendent over 3 counties. But anyway, so yes, as we get,
How do we go about that? That's another issue.
just have a conversation with Justin. And actually now is the time to do it.
Because what we would really like to see happen is that first 25 foot of the gravel road access.
Or 30.
Yeah, whatever it is, for them to pave that. And then our graders can get to that, because that's where we're having the issue. When we grade a county road, we can't get to it because our grader's sticking 12 foot out in the
So
highway then.
I know that we've
That's how
partnered
block
on
traffic.
I know that we've partnered on a number of approaches over the years, and how that's usually done is just a handshake agreement between the county and Justin.
Yeah.
But what he needs to do, and in